So a question that I get all the time from aspiring or new professional organizers is, how do I charge for my services? And what should I charge as I'm just getting started? In today's video, I'm going to go over some factors to consider when you are establishing your rate and 3 different ways that you can charge for home organizing services and the pros and cons of each. And then I'm also going to share with you a link to get a free guide on what you should be doing in the next 30 days to launch your professional organizing career. So let's get started. Hi, I'm professional organizer Katherine Lawrence. So how much could you charge for professional organizing services? First, we're going to review 3 popular home services websites and look at the price range that they're giving for the service of home organizing. All right, so let's first take a look at Angie's List. So they're quoting an hourly rate between $30 and $80. Now, if we hop over here to Home Advisor, they're showing between $55 and $100 as an average nationally. And then if we hop over here to Thumbtack, is $40 to $60 per hour. They're showing as an average price. Okay, so that's a pretty big range. We've got $30 on the low end and $100 on the high end. So 2 factors when you want to consider when looking at your own rates is, 1, what market do you live in? So if you live in a large city like San Francisco, New York, LA, DC, the rates for home services are generally higher in the market. Whereas if you live in a small city or a small town, those rates are going to be a little bit lower, and that's typically for all home services. So a new organizer starting in LA is going to be charging more than a new organizer starting in a small town, let's say in West Virginia, because the market just expects different rates. So I would recommend that you do a little research in your market and find out what other companies are charging for home services. So the second factor you want to think about is your own training and experience. I think about this when I go to like a new hairstylist. There's always the apprentice at a big salon, and they're going to be charging, in my market, like $30 an hour. And then if you continue to go to that person, eventually their rate goes up with their experience and the hours that they have in that business, and then their rate is going to increase as their experience increases. So you may consider coming up with a starting rate that you have for the first 100 hours that you bill for your services, or the first 6 months that you are in business, and then after you've gotten some training and some experience, then consider bringing your rates up to more of an average in your market. You can also come up with a rate that you're comfortable with and then issue some coupons or discount codes to the first 10 clients or 20 clients. And so you're working at a lower rate, but in your mind, you know the rate that you're going to be working for after getting that experience and education. Now, the second part of this big question is, how do you charge for your services? So you could just charge that hourly rate for the number of hours that you are on site or that you're working for the client. Now, one drawback to that, and when I started, I was using just that straight hourly rate, is that sometimes my clients would try to undercut the time that it takes to do a project. For example, I might show up to do a closet, and in my mind, I know that's, maybe going to take me 3 to 6 hours. And the client would say, well, okay, what can you do in an hour and a half? And then I'm going to pay you that, and then you can leave and I'll finish. So I felt a little cheated because I had driven across town and, expecting to do a full project, which I know I cannot do in 90 minutes. I mean, I'm pretty fast and pretty good, but just the act of taking everything out and putting it back in the proper way is going to take a little bit of time. So I really didn't want my clients to just think that this was a straight hourly service, because I knew it was going to take me a number of hours to complete a project. And of course, I want to leave them with a completed project and show them some progress, not just pull everything out and then leave after an hour or two and kind of leave them with a big mess. So sort of no one was happy in that situation. So the second way you can charge is by the project. And so that's a case where you go in and someone says, I want my kitchen organized, and you quote them a rate to organize that whole kitchen. Now, I've also stayed away from this type of pricing, and the reason for that is you'll find once you start organizing some of these home projects, there's a lot of factors that are out of your control. For example, if your client takes a long time making decisions, it's going to take you longer to get through that project because I don't just go in and throw things away for my clients. I want them to participate in the decision making. So I'm only going to move as fast as they are moving when they are deciding what to keep and what to toss. So I may think, okay, I can, pull everything out of this kitchen and get rid of the clutter and put things back in, let's say 6 hours. But if the client is really struggling emotionally to let go of things, I'm not going to rush that process or tell them, that they have to get rid of certain things. I want them to work through that because so much of that is the process of being organized, is to love and use the things that you have. So there is a lot of thought that goes into what things belong in that space, and the client is going to have to go through that process in order to get to the end result. So the third way to charge is by the session. So this is the practice that I have adopted over the years, is that I schedule a session time with my clients. So that is to work in a specific area. And for me, I'm comfortable in working in 3-hour time blocks. So I'm typically on site either 3 hours or 6 hours. Now, when I started, I was doing 4-hour sessions and staying on site 8 hours. But I got a little overwhelmed in that process. It was harder for me to take meal breaks, or I would come home after, a 9-hour day, and then I didn't have time to, sort of do all the other administrative things that I needed to do for my business. So for me, that 3-hour time block has just worked out really well. I kind of know how much I can pull out and put back together in that time frame. So with session pricing, you charge the client based on, in my case, a 3-hour time frame. So I'm going to take my hourly rate, multiply that times 3, and come up with a session rate. And so that way, if I'm with the client and we're 2.5 hours into it, and let's say they need to leave or something has come up, or maybe 3 hours doesn't quite work for them, but we're going to get most of that session down, the price that I'm charging is the session price. So they know ahead of time when I come to their home, this will be the rate that they are paying. And it's really great for them because there's no surprises. If I was charging that hourly rate and it took me a little extra time, now their budget has changed a little bit. So they know what I'm going to charge for my time at their house. I know what income I'm going to receive for that day. And so that works out for both parties involved. So look at those national averages, do a little bit of research in your own market, and come up with your starting rate and then the rate that you are going to work up to once you have a certain number of hours of experience and also some training. And then think about those 3 different ways that you can charge: hourly, by the project, or by the session, and come up with something that you're comfortable with. The important thing is that your client knows what to expect from the time that you spend with them. And if you're just starting out in this business, I recommend that you download my ebook, 30 Steps to Take in the Next 30 Days to Launch Your Professional Organizing Career. It is completely free and it is full of valuable information that's going to save you hours and hours of research as you get started in the professional organizing business. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe for more videos on downsizing, minimizing, decluttering, and the business of organizing.